You are here because the field chose you, not by chance but by precision. Something inside you has already felt it, that time does not move as you were told. What you desire is not waiting ahead of you in some distant horizon. It is already alive, vibrating behind the veil, calling you into alignment. This message finds you because you are ready to see what most overlook. Manifestation does not move forward. It flows in reverse, from the unseen future into the present, bending causality itself. And once you grasp why it works backwards, you unlock extraordinary power. Begins like a whisper that your mind almost resists, because it contradicts the way you've been taught to see the world. You've been told that the future is something you must build piece by piece, that it doesn't yet exist until you create it with your actions, with your sweat, with your struggle. But the quantum field laughs at that idea, for it does not play by the laws of linear time. What you long for, what you ache for, what keeps rising within you as a dream or a vision, is not some fragile hope waiting to be assembled. It is already alive. It already exists as a completed vibration, whole and unbroken, shimmering just beyond the veil of your senses. When you desire something, it is not the beginning of its creation. It is the recognition of its signal, the echo of its presence calling you forward. You are not moving toward the future in the way you imagine, dragging your body and your mind through days and years until you arrive. The future is not a destination that sits patiently ahead of you. It is more like a gravitational field exerting an unseen pull, reaching backward through time to arrange your steps, your choices, your synchronicity. You are not walking to it. It is leaning into you, bending reality so that your awareness can catch the scent of its frequency. This is why certain dreams feel inevitable, why some visions return again and again no matter how much you doubt or dismiss them. They are not fragile fantasies. They are persistent transmissions from a timeline that already exists, urging you to tune your resonance so you can finally inhabit them. Think of it like music drifting from another room. You cannot yet see the source, but you feel the vibration in the walls. You catch the melody in fragments, and something in you recognizes the song. Desire is not your mind inventing what it wants. It is your being remembering what is already there. The future self that has already achieved, already loved, already expanded, already stepped into the fullness of its expression, is singing to you through the quantum field. And you here in this moment are the ones straining your ears to listen, translating vibration into vision, into longing, into the sense that something greater awaits you. This is why manifestation works backward, because the seed does not sprout into a plant unless the fully grown form already exists within the potential of that seed. The oak tree is not created when the acorn is planted. The oak already exists within the blueprint, waiting for time and conditions to unfold its pattern. Your desires are like that oak. The moment you sense them, they are not created by your thought. They are recognized by your thought. They are the encoded blueprint of a future that is already complete, inviting you to align with the conditions that allow it to unfold. But the mind struggles with this. The mind says, if it already exists, why don't I see it now? The mind says, if it's already real, why does it feel so distant, so unreachable? The answer is resonance. You cannot pick up a radio station unless you are tuned to its frequency, even though the signal is already in the air around you. The music is here now. The broadcast is here now. But until you adjust your receiver, you experienced only static. Your desires are the signal. Your state of being, your beliefs, your emotions, your openness is the receiver. The moment you align the two, what was invisible becomes obvious. What was silent becomes undeniable. What seemed impossible becomes natural. This is why the future is not something you chase. The act of chasing assumes it is absent, assumes it is not yet real, and that assumption pushes the signal further out of reach. Instead, your task is to allow, to remember, to tune yourself until the broadcast becomes clear. This is why effort without resonance feels exhausting and fruitless. You can push and grind and sweat, but if your signal is off, you are simply creating more noise. The paradox is that the more you surrender into alignment, the more the future pulls you effortlessly into itself, as if it were always waiting for you to stop resisting. And here is the deeper truth. The fact that you feel the longing at all proves that the future already exists. You cannot desire what is not available in the field. You cannot crave a reality that does not have a blueprint somewhere in the quantum. Your longing is the evidence. It is the bridge between now and what has already been completed in another layer of existence. The moment you say, I desire this, what you are truly saying is, I have felt the vibration of this reality, and I am remembering it through my longing. That is why some visions feel so alive they bring tears to your eyes. Why some dreams feel like home even if you've never experienced them in this lifetime. They are not fantasies, they are memories from the future, memories of what already exists, waiting for you to walk into. And when you finally surrender to that truth, you realize that you are not inventing your life one uncertain step at a time. You are uncovering it, peeling back the layers of resistance, until what is already complete reveals itself. So hear this clearly. Your future is not fragile. Your dreams are not delicate. They are whole, complete, living realities that are already singing in the quantum field. They will not vanish because you doubt them. Though doubt may delay your recognition, they will not die because you hesitate. Though hesitation may blur the signal, they are more patient than you realize, more resilient than your fear suggests. They are simply waiting for you to remember what you already are. And when you finally let this truth sink in, when you accept that you are not the maker of your dreams but the receiver of them, something shifts. The pressure dissolves, the fear loosens. You no longer ask, how can I possibly make this happen? Instead you whisper, how can I tune myself to what already is? And in that question lies the doorway to everything, because the future is not waiting to be created. The future is calling to be remembered. And when you allow yourself to remember, you discover that manifestation does not begin with you. It begins with what has already been completed. That is why it works backward. And that is why once you understand this, the very structure of reality bends to meet you, effortlessly, powerfully, inevitably. Deepens the mystery, because once you begin to see that the future is already alive, a question arises: what then of your present choices, your daily decisions, the thoughts and actions you believe are the foundation of everything you create? You were told that the present is the cause, that every choice now builds the structure of tomorrow, brick by brick, action by action. But in the quantum view, the present is not the cause at all. It is the impulses you feel, the sudden inspirations that appear like sparks in the mind, the instincts that guide your hand or your voice. These are not generated here. They are the ripples of the future reaching backward, arranging themselves as urges and options that you mistake for spontaneous. Have you noticed how some decisions seem to arise in you without logic, almost irrational, yet later reveal themselves as perfect? That nudge to call a person at a specific time, that sudden desire to take a different route home, that pull toward a book, a song, a moment that seems trivial until its synchronicity becomes undeniable. This is not randomness. These are signals from the completed timeline, your future self leaving breadcrumbs in the present, guiding you into alignment with what already exists. It feels like free will. It feels like choice. But beneath it there is orchestration, a choreography far more precise than the conscious mind can manage. And here lies the paradox. You do have free will, but not in the way you think. You are free to resist, or to align, free to tune in or to ignore, free to follow the thread or to doubt it. The signal will not force you, but it will not vanish either. It waits, it pulses, it offers itself again and again until you are willing to note. What you call your choice is the choice to trust the signal or to turn away. And even when you turn away, the timeline still calls to you, still rearranges subtle echoes, until you cannot help but feel its pull once more. So your present is not the origin point. It is the translation point. The future writes itself backward into your now, and you translate that signal into thought, into action, into words, into decisions. The inspiration you feel is not the spark of creation, but the echo of creation already complete. This is why so often you cannot explain why you did what you did, why you followed that instinct. Your rational mind tries to build a story after the fact, inventing reasons for your choices, but beneath those stories lies a truth far greater. You were moved by the vibration of what already is. And notice how validating this is, How liberating. You don't need to strain with the burden of thinking you are constructing the entire path with every small action. The path is already formed. Your role is to listen, to feel, to sense where the resonance flows, and to let yourself step in rhythm with it. When you feel like you made a mistake, when you believe you've taken a wrong turn, the truth is even that so-called mistake is absorbed into the backward ripple of the future. It is folded into the pattern. It still carries you, even if your mind tells you otherwise. Think of a river flowing downhill. You are not building the river with each step. You are walking along its current. Sometimes you may stumble on a rock. Sometimes you may rest on the bank. Sometimes you may resist and fight the flow. But the river remains. It is not built by your effort. It is carved by something larger, and the current knows the way. The future is that current. The present is the place where you notice it, where you can choose to surrender to its pull or struggle against it. But whether you struggle or surrender, the river is still flowing, and eventually it carries you. This is why certain patterns in your life they are not punishments, not failures, but signals replaying themselves, because you have not yet aligned with their meaning. The future keeps sending the echo, and until you attune to it, the echo returns again and again, disguised in different circumstances, different faces, different situations. When you finally recognize the signal, when you allow it to shift you, the repetition ends, not because you forced it to, but because you finally tuned to the frequency it was calling you toward all along. And perhaps you wonder, if the future is writing the present, does that mean everything is predetermined? That nothing you do matters? No, it means the opposite. It means everything you feel, everything you choose, everything you align with matters deeply, because those very movements are the way the future translates itself into your now. You are not powerless. You are the interpreter, the receiver, the translator of infinite possibility into form. Without your willingness to embody the signal, the future remains potential. With your willingness, the potential collapses into the lived moment. Your participation is the bridge that allows what already exists to become what you touch, what you see, what you... So you see, your present choices are sacred, not because they invent the future, but because they reveal it. They are the unveiling of what was hidden, the translation of what was silent, the blossoming of what was dormant in the field. Every time you follow the subtle nudge, every time you honor the quiet knowing, every time you allow yourself to step into trust instead of fear, you are allowing the future's hand to move through you. And this is why the present feels so charged with paradox. It feels like you are creating, yet you are remembering. It feels like you are choosing, yet you are following. It feels like the beginning, yet it is the middle of something already complete. The present is not the origin. It is the intersection, the meeting point of what has been written and what is being revealed. So take comfort in this. You cannot miss what is truly yours. The signal of your completed future will not vanish because you overlooked it once or twice. It will keep returning, weaving itself into your days, planting itself in your thoughts, arranging synchronicities until you notice. The present will always adjust, always bend, always reflect the pull of the timeline that belongs to you. And when you begin to see your choices this way, everything softens. The pressure to figure it out lessens. The fear of making the wrong move dissolves. You begin to trust that even the wrong moves are part of the choreography. Even the detours are still within the pull of the current. You begin to live with more courage, more curiosity, more willingness to follow what feels irrational but true. And in that willingness you discover the magic that the mind could never calculate, the magic that only the backward pull of the quantum field can orchestrate. Your present is not the cause, it is the effect. But it is the effect that matters most, because it is the place where you become aware of the hidden design, the place where you can surrender into the pull of what already is. And once you live with this awareness, you stop forcing the present to carry the weight of invention, and instead allow it to be what it truly is, the doorway where the future writes. Synchronicity is where the backward flow of manifestation becomes undeniable, for it is in synchronicity that the hidden hand of the future reveals itself most vividly. You have already felt it, Those moments that defy probability. Those uncanny alignments that make you pause and wonder if something larger is arranging the pieces of your life. A thought of someone you haven't spoken to in years arises, and within hours they appear with a message. You pick up a book at random and the words on the page answer the exact question you were wrestling with silently in your heart. You notice repeating numbers, symbols, patterns that seem almost absurd in their frequency, and yet you cannot shake the feeling that they are speaking to you direct. These are not coincidences. Coincidence is the language the rational mind uses when it cannot explain precision. What you are truly witnessing is the echo of a future already formed, folding itself into the present in such a way that you cannot help but take notice. The paradox of synchronicity is that it feels as though it comes from outside you, yet it is inseparably linked to the vibration you carry. The completed future does not shout, it hums, it arranges, it nudges, and because your awareness is tuned to its frequency, you notice the arrangements while others may walk past them blind. You might believe you stumbled upon that conversation, that opportunity, that strange alignment, but in truth you were guided. The signal of your future had already bent the pathways so that at the right time the right piece of reality collided with your gaze. It is a choreography too complex for your mind to calculate, and yet it unfolds effortlessly, the moment you allow yourself to trust that the universe is conspiring with you, not against you. Have you noticed that synchronicities multiply the moment you lean into trust? That when you are open, receptive, and believing in possibility, the signs flow like a river, but when you sink into fear and doubt, the world seems silent, random, even hostile. This is not because the signal disappears. The signal never disappears. It is because your doubt narrows your vision, and your fear dulls your perception. Synchronicity is still happening, but you no longer see it. The signs were always there. You simply walk past them without recognition. To live with faith is to live with eyes wide open to the precision of the field. To walk through life as though every detail is speaking to you, because in truth, it is. Synchronicity is the bridge that shows you the future and present are not separate. It is the reminder that linearity is a convenient illusion, a way for the mind to make sense of unfolding events. But beneath that illusion, everything is woven in a web of resonance. You did not cause the synchronicity by thought alone, nor did it arise by random chance. The future's echo and your present awareness collided in a perfect meeting point. It is less about control and more about recognition. The synchronicity was not waiting to be manufactured. It was waiting to be noted. And consider how validating this is. Your deepest desires, your highest visions, are not isolated fantasies floating in the mind. If they were mere inventions, they would not produce the precision of synchronicity that seems to conspire on their behalf. Synchronicity is the evidence that what you are aligning with already exists, and the universe is weaving reminders into your path so that you do not forget. It is the universe whispering, yes, this way. Yes, keep walking. Yes, the vibration you feel is every sign, every symbol. Every uncanny alignment is not random but reinforcement. The future self calling you, I am here, I am waiting. Do not doubt. This is why synchronicity often feels playful, almost mischievous. It delights in surprising you, in proving to you that something larger is at work. The field does not need to convince itself. It knows the truth. It is convincing you, training you to trust, softening your rigid reliance on logic, so you can surrender into a way of being that is guided rather than controlled. The laughter that escapes you when you notice a synchronicity is not accidental. It is the soul's recognition that it has just glimpsed the hidden thread of reality. It is joy, rising because for a moment you remember you are not lost. And yet the mind it tries to categorize synchronicity as luck, coincidence, or self-delusion. It says, you are imagining patterns that aren't there. But ask yourself, why do these alignments always carry a resonance of truth? Why do they arrive precisely when you need them most, often in ways too personal, too specific to dismiss? The rational mind is too small a container to hold the immensity of quantum design. It shrinks mystery into randomness because it cannot calculate the immeasurable. But the heart knows, the body knows. Something inside you expands, when synchronicity unfolds. Because deep down you remember that this is how reality actually operates. The key is not to chase synchronicity but to live attuned to it. To chase it is to assume it is scarce, to treat it as a trick or reward. But synchronicity is abundant, constant, woven into every moment. The more you align with the vibration of trust and presence, the more your eyes adjust to its light. Suddenly you realize that what once appeared as rare magic is actually the normal language of the universe, speaking to you without pause. The birds crossing your path, the fragment of a lyric that echoes your thoughts, the timing of a stranger's smile, all of it is conversation. All of it is evidence that you are walking inside a design far more intelligent than linear cause and effect. And so synchronicity becomes both a guide and a mirror. It guides you toward the timeline that already exists, nudging you with signs that you cannot ignore. And it mirrors your state of being, revealing whether you are tuned to resonance or lost in static. When you feel aligned, synchronicity multiplies. When you feel scattered, synchronicity hides in plain sight. The mirror is never judging. It is only reflect. And in that reflection, you have the chance to adjust, to breathe, to remember that the signs never stop. They only wait for your recognition. This is why those who live with openness often describe their lives as enchanted, not because they are lucky, not because they are favored, but because they have trained themselves to listen. They have surrendered the arrogance of believing they must control everything. And in that surrender they have become sensitive to the whispers of the field. And once you begin to listen, once you treat every detail as communication rather than coincidence, life transforms. The mundane dissolves. Every encounter glows with meaning. Every day feels infused with guidance. And you realize you were never stumbling alone. You were always being led. So let this revelation sink into you. Synchronicity is not proof you are manifesting. It is proof that manifestation has already occurred. It is the shadow of the future cast backward into your now, guiding you. Doubt is perhaps the most persistent shadow you will ever encounter on this path, and it appears with such conviction that you often believe it more than you believe the whisper of your own soul. This is the fourth revelation. Doubt is not proof that manifestation has failed, nor is it evidence that nothing is happening. Doubt is the natural shadow cast by the backward flow of reality, because the quantum field does not reveal its evidence first, because the signal of the future arrives long before the tangible confirmation appears. The mind grows restless. It demands proof before trust. It craves certainty before surrender. And when that proof does not immediately appear, the mind invents its own story. It isn't working. I am deceiving myself. Nothing is changing. But this is the great misunderstanding. The absence of proof is not the absence of power. It is the necessary space where trust takes root. Think of it this way. If you were given instant evidence every time you aligned with a desire, your trust would never be cultivated. Faith would be meaningless because it would never be tested. And yet faith is the precise frequency that binds you to the timeline you are calling in. Faith is not passive. Faith is a vibration, a signal you broadcast that says, I believe this reality already exists, even when my senses cannot yet see it. That signal is what anchors you into the completed timeline. Without it, your vibration flickers, unstable, uncertain, wavering between static and clarity. The quantum field does not punish doubt. It simply mirrors it. When you vibrate in doubt, you align with timelines where uncertainty multiplies. When you vibrate in trust, you align with timelines where evidence inevitably unfolds. This is why doubt often surges strongest right before manifestation crystallizes. The pressure builds, the silence grows, and your mind panics because it cannot calculate what is happening beyond the veil. You are asked to leap without seeing the ground. You are asked to continue walking in darkness with nothing but an inner compass. And just when your fear is at its loudest, the signal strengthens, the alignment sharpens, and reality begins to collapse into form. The shadow always deepens before the dawn, because the mind's last attempt to protect its old paradigm rises in full force. But if you can endure the shadow, if you can trust when there is no proof, you discover a power that cannot be shaken. Have you ever noticed how, when you look back, the moments of deepest doubt were often the ones just before everything shifted? That the greatest breakthroughs, The sudden opportunities, the miraculous turns of events arrived not when you were coasting in ease, but when you were on the edge of giving up. This is not accidental. Doubt is the threshold guardian, the final test before you enter the timeline full. It asks, will you abandon the signal because you cannot see it, or will you hold the vibration despite the silence? And every time you choose trust in the absence of evidence, the quantum field responds, not because you forced it, but because you matched the frequency of what was already complete. So when doubt rises, do not condemn yourself. Do not see it as failure. See it as a sign that you are close, that you are brushing against the veil of the unseen. Doubt is proof that you are reaching beyond what the mind can measure. It is the stretching of your awareness into timelines the senses cannot yet verify. And in this paradox lies the secret. Doubt only exists because the new reality already does. If the future you were calling in did not exist, there would be no friction, no tension, no resistance. You would feel nothing. The very presence of doubt means the signal is strong enough to unsettle the structures of your old self. And here is the mystical irony. Trust is not the absence of doubt. Trust is the willingness to act in alignment, even while doubt whispers. Trust is the choice to lean into resonance when your mind shouts impossible. Trust is not about feeling certain. It is about surrendering despite uncertainty. And when you learn this, you stop waiting for the doubt to vanish before you move. You realize doubt may always be present, like a shadow at the edge of light, but it no longer rules you. You begin to walk with it, through it, beyond it, until its voice fades, and the evidence it demanded finally appears. The field does not require you to be perfect. It does not require you to silence every doubt. It asks only that you do not let doubt become your master. When doubt says, "This cannot happen," you answer, "Perhaps it already has." When doubt says, "I see no proof," you reply, "Proof is the last thing to arrive." When doubt insists, "You are wasting your time," you whisper, "Time itself bends to the vibration I carry." And in those quiet responses, you shift everything, because you are no longer aligning with the vibration of fear but with the resonance of remembrance. And what happens when the evidence finally appears? When the manifestation arrives, when the reality collapses into form, you laugh. You look back at your doubt and you laugh, because what once felt like an impossible silence becomes obvious, inevitable, even or. You realize the proof was never meant to come first. It was meant to be the last piece, the physical confirmation of what your being already knew. And then, if you are wise, you carry that memory forward. You let it become your anchor, so that the next time doubt rises, you remember, it is only the shadow, not the truth. This revelation is not here to scold you for doubting. It is here to liberate you. It is here to show you that doubt is not your enemy, but your invitation. Every time it appears, it is asking you to strengthen your trust, to deepen your alignment, to prove to yourself that your connection to the future is stronger than the illusions of the present. It is refining you, stretching you, shaping you into one who can carry the frequency of what is already complete without flinching. So when you find yourself doubting, breathe. When your mind says, "It is not working," smile. When your heart feels heavy with uncertainty, place your hand upon it and remind yourself, the absence of proof is not the absence of reality. The silence is not emptiness. It is gestation, the shadow. And now we arrive at the fifth revelation, one that feels almost impossible for the logical mind to accept, yet it is the hinge upon which the entire mystery swings. The future creates the present, not the other way around. Everything you have been taught insists that your present actions, your present thoughts, your present choices push forward into the unknown and shape what is to come. But in truth, the arrow is reversed. The timeline you align with in the quantum field sends ripples backward, pulling your present self into its gravity. This is why you sometimes feel as though events conspire in ways you could never have orchestrated. Why synchronicities appear with such precision. Why you meet the right person at the right time without planning. It is not that you carefully assembled those details step by step. It is that your future self, the reality already vibrating as complete, has reached back and rearranged your steps to align with its inevitability. This is why manifestation often feels like remembering rather than creating. Deep down, you have already lived the reality you are calling in. You sense it not as an invention but as a memory flickering at the edge of awareness. When you declare a desire, it is not always something new, it is the echo of a timeline that already exists, nudging you, reminding you, whispering, "This is yours, walk toward it." The pull you feel towards certain visions is the gravitational force of your future self calling you home. And because the quantum field is non-linear, because time itself is only a perception, that future reality does not wait for you to create it step by step. It sends waves backward, orchestrating the present so that you arrive at it inevitably. This is why coincidences are never coincidences. When the right opportunity falls into your lap, when you overhear a sentence that answers your unspoken question, when an obstacle dissolves just as you were about to despair, it is not random. It is your future self moving the pieces into place, weaving a path backward, so that you meet it at the appointed moment. And the more you attune to this truth, the more you realize your task is not to strain and force the present to construct the future. Your task is to listen, to attune, to align, so that you can feel the pull of that completed version of yourself and let it lead you. This is why surrender is more powerful than control. The old way teaches you to push forward, to calculate every move, to battle against circumstances, as though you were carving the future out of resistant stone. But in the quantum way, you realize the sculpture is already complete. The marble has already been shaped. You are not chiseling blindly, you are allowing the shape to reveal itself. Control resists the pull, while surrender allows it. And so you learn to soften, to listen for the subtle signals, to follow the currents rather than demand they obey you. The paradox is that by releasing control, you find yourself guided with far more precision than you could ever manage alone. Think back on your life, the turning points that truly matter. How many of them came because you planned every detail? And how many came because something unexpected arrived that you could never have foreseen? You were led to a job, a relationship, a move, a decision, often not by careful calculation but by some mysterious alignment. And when you look back, you see the threads. How one small decision led to another, how a meeting at random altered your course, how a disappointment redirected you toward a hidden blessing. This is the backward pull of the future at work. It is not chaos, it is coherence beyond your mind's current understanding. And when you realize this, you stop fighting the unknown. You stop demanding to see every step ahead. You understand that uncertainty is not a threat, but a canvas upon which the future is already painted. You no longer need to force answers, because you trust that the answers will arrive at the exact moment they are needed. You no longer exhaust yourself in endless strategies, because you sense that alignment is more potent than effort. And this shifts everything. Your energy is free. Your vibration stabilizes. You begin to live not as someone desperately trying to create, but as someone remembering what is already complete. This is why vision is so powerful. When you hold the image of your desired reality, when you feel its texture, its emotion, its atmosphere, you are not fantasizing. You are tuning to a signal that already exists. That image is the transmission from your future self, and the stronger you allow yourself to feel it, the clearer the signal becomes. You begin to notice the nudges, the invitations, the subtle rearrangements that guide your step. You begin to say yes to what resonates and no to what fractures your alignment. And without realizing it, you are being drawn into the very future you once thought was distant. And yet this revelation comes with a paradox. While the future creates the present is still the access point. You cannot abandon this moment. You cannot live only in visions. The present is the soil in which the signal of the future is received. If you ignore it, if you resist it, if you dismiss it as meaningless, you close your receiver. But if you honor it, if you breathe into it, if you carry the vibration of your future self into this moment, then the signal strengthens and the backward pull intensifies. It is not about escaping the present, but about transforming it into a bridge. So when you face challenges, do not see them as proof that the future is collapsing. See them as precise sculpting from the future itself, reshaping you so that you can meet it fully. When someone leaves, when a door closes, when plans dissolve, remember, this too is part of the backward flow. It is your future saying, that path does not lead to me. Let me adjust your step. And though it may sting in the moment, though your mind may resist, you will look back and see the precision. You will see that what felt like loss was alignment. What felt like chaos was orchestration. This is the liberation that comes with the fifth revelation. You realize you are not dragging yourself uphill into an uncertain tomorrow. You are being pulled, guided, magnetized by a future that is already complete. And the more you trust that pull, the less resistance you feel. Life becomes lighter, not because it is free of challenge, but because you understand the meaning within the challenge. You know the currents are carrying you, even when the water feels turbulent. So allow yourself to lean into this paradox. Your future is not waiting passively for you to create it. It is alive. It is active. It is reaching back even now. Every nudge, every synchronicity, every closed door and unexpected turn is the whisper of what is already complete, guiding you to itself. And when you embrace this, when you live as though the future is already creating you, you discover the deepest power of all, the certainty that you cannot miss what is truly yours. Whispers a truth so subtle that most overlook it, yet it is the very reason manifestation feels delayed or even denied. The field responds not to what you want, but to what you are. And here lies the paradox. The moment you desire something, you are declaring that you do not yet have it. You are vibrating lack even as you dream of abundance. You are vibrating absence even as you call for presence. But the quantum field is impartial. It does not hear your words. It does not calculate your effort. It mirrors only your frequency. So, if your desire is wrapped in longing, what returns to you is more longing. If your vision is steeped in desperation, what arrives is more desperation. This is why the law works backwards. You cannot get to the reality you want by vibrating as someone who does not yet have it. You must become the one who already embodies it. And then reality bends to that signal. This is where so many struggle, because the human mind says, but how can I act as though I already have it when I can clearly see that I don't? And yet, that is the initiation. You are asked to transcend appearances, to feel beyond the evidence, to choose resonance over proof. You are asked to live as though the reality is already alive within you, even when your senses scream otherwise. This is not pretending, and it is not delusion. It is alignment. You are not lying to yourself. You are tuning yourself. You are not ignoring what is. You are refusing to give it authority over what is becoming. Imagine it like a radio dial. The song you long to hear is already playing on a frequency, but until you tune to it, you will not hear it. The station does not wait to broadcast until you twist the dial. It is already there, flowing endlessly. Your job is not to beg the radio to play the song. Your job is to align yourself with the vibration that is already broadcast. This is the essence of becoming the future self now. You vibrate as though the reality is already true, and by doing so, you merge with the station that has been playing all along. But to live this way requires courage, because it demands that you step into identity before evidence arrives. It means carrying the posture of abundance when your bank account looks barren. It means embodying love when loneliness still lingers in the room. It means radiating health when your body feels fragile. And here is the miracle. The moment you shift your identity, reality begins its backward adjustment. The opportunities, the people, the synchronicities begin to arrange themselves, not because you forced them, but because your signal changed. The field cannot contradict itself. Once you vibrate as the one who already is, reality cannot help but echo it back to you. This is why affirmations sometimes feel empty, why effort sometimes exhausts you. Words alone cannot deceive the field, and action without resonance carries little power. You can declare, I am abundant 1,000 times, but if you vibrate lack, the declaration is only noise. You can work tirelessly toward a goal, but if your effort is steeped in fear of failure, the fear is what magnifies. The backward design ensures that you cannot trick the field with surface gestures. It demands congruence, wholeness, coherence. It asks you to embody the frequency in your being, not just on your lips. And yet, this is not punishment. It is protection. If the field responded instantly to every fleeting wish, your reality would be chaos, shifting with every doubt and every passing craving. By requiring resonance, it ensures stability. By demanding alignment, it prevents you from manifesting what would harm you, what is rooted in fear rather than truth. The delay you resent is often grace, giving you space to become who you must be to carry what you are calling. The gap between desire and manifestation is not emptiness, it is initiation. Think of it like planting a seed. The soil does not sprout the moment you drop it in. It must be nurtured. It must grow unseen. It must root itself deeply before the stem pierces the surface. And if you were to dig it up each day, demanding proof that it is working, you would kill what was already alive. This is what most people do with their desires. They dig them up with doubt, with impatience, with desperation. They broadcast lack rather than trust, and then they wonder why nothing blooms. But the ones who hold the vibration, who water it with belief and warmth, they are the ones who see the first green shoot break the soil. And so the sixth revelation invites you to shift from longing into being, to stop vibrating as a seeker and begin vibrating as a knower, to release the frequency of someday and carry the frequency of already. And though your mind may resist, though your senses may protest, your heart knows this truth. Have you not had moments where you felt the joy of something before it arrived? Moments where gratitude flooded you before you held the outcome in your hands? That was alignment. That was the field responding not to what you wanted, but to who you were in that moment. So what does it mean to embody the frequency? It means practicing gratitude, not as a performance but as a state of being. It means feeling joy, not because of what has happened, but because you are aligning with what is already alive in the field. It means treating your desires, not as distant fantasies, but as realities you are already inhabiting in vibration. It means remembering that everything you call forth is already complete, and your task is simply to meet it as the one who is capable of receiving it. This is why identity work is the deepest manifestation practice. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The question is never, how do I get this outcome? The real question is, who must I be to walk in this reality? And as you answer it, as you become it, as you live as though it is already true, the field bends backward to mirror you. The paradox is that you receive not by reaching but by realizing, not by chasing, but by claiming, not by asking endlessly but by embodying the one who already knows. And here lies the freedom. You no longer need to wait. You no longer need to suffer in longing. You no longer need to live as though life is withheld from you until the evidence arrives. You can choose the vibration now. You can carry the identity. And as you do, you discover that the joy, the peace, the expansion you thought were locked in the future were always accessible in the present. The manifestation is not the source of your wholeness. It is the reflection of it. And when you grasp this, you stop living for the moment of arrival, and you begin living as the arrival itself. This is the gift of the backward law. The field will not grant you what you lack. It will mirror what you are. So become the one who already knows. The most paradoxical of them all, because it reveals the hidden way in which time itself bends around your consciousness. The signal of your manifestation is always strongest in the invisible before it becomes visible. The moment you feel the pull, the alignment, the spark of resonance deep in your being, that is when the reality is closest. Though your senses might tell you nothing has changed, and yet when the evidence finally arrives in the outer world, the feeling is often softer, quieter, even anticlimactic, because by the time form appears you have already lived it within. The true power was never in the arrival, it was in the invisible alignment that preceded it. This is why the greatest shifts are felt in silence, in stillness, in those moments when you sense without knowing how you know that something has already shifted. The air feels different, your body tingles, your perception sharpens, and for a brief instant you are flooded with certainty, though no proof can yet be seen. That certainty is not imagination, it is the field itself transmitting coherence to your being. It is your future self wrapping you in its resonance, so that you can carry it here. But because the mind has been trained to trust only what the eyes can see, it dismisses these subtle signals as fantasy, coincidence, or fleeting emotion. The tragedy is that most people abandon the moment of greatest power simply because their senses cannot yet verify it. And so the field in its backward design requires that you learn to treasure the unseen more than the seen, the subtle more than the obvious, the invisible more than the tangible. This is why the ones who manifest most effortlessly are not always the ones with the greatest effort, but the ones with the deepest trust in their own inner resonance. They notice the quiet shifts. They honor the subtle confirmations. They allow the tingling sense of it is done to be enough. And because they do, the evidence must eventually follow. For them, manifestation feels less like building and more like allowing, less like striving and more like receiving. The paradox is that by the time the evidence arrives, you are not surprised. You are simply grateful. You look at the physical proof and think, of course it has come, for I already felt it. I already knew it. I already lived it before my senses caught up. This is why those who master quantum manifestation often seem unshaken by miracle. They receive them with a calm smile rather than shock, because the miracle is not new to them. It has already unfolded in their vibration long before it crystallized in their world. But here is where the revelation deepens. If you can trust the invisible as the truest stage of creation, you can release the desperate waiting for physical proof. You no longer chain your joy to evidence. You no longer hold your peace hostage to result. You realize the true manifestation is the shift within you, the coherence of your signal, the resonance of your being. And when you live in that state, everything you once chased begins chasing you, because the field must echo what you are radiating. This is why gratitude is not just a practice, but a technology. When you give thanks before the evidence arrives, you are not pretending, you are aligning. Gratitude is the language of the invisible, the frequency that says to the field, I already know it is done. And in that vibration, you stabilize the timeline, you lock in the frequency, you strengthen the coherence that calls reality into form. Those who wait to give thanks until they see results are always chasing, always long. Those who give thanks before see results sooner, not because they forced them, but because gratitude itself is a signal of completion. And yet, notice the paradox. When you live this way, you stop caring so much about the outcome. The desire that once felt like an ache softens into joy, because you no longer need the form to feel whole. You carry the resonance already, and so the arrival of the evidence becomes a celebration rather than salvation. This is the hidden secret. When you no longer need the manifestation to confirm what you already know, you become magnetic to it. When you release the grip of needing, the field floods you with more than you imagine. Consider the moments in your life where you let go fully, when you stopped demanding, when you surrendered and moved on, and then, almost magically, the very thing you wanted arrived. That is not coincidence. That is the field responding to the release of resistance. For as long as you clutch desperately, you broadcast lack. But when you soften, when you carry peace as though it is already complete, you open the channel. The invisible then pours into the visible with effortless timing. And yet, this does not mean you abandon desire. Desire is sacred. It is the compass of your soul, pointing you toward the timelines that already exist for you. To desire is to remember, to call back into awareness what is already alive in another layer of the field. But desire must be paired with remembrance, with the knowing that it is already so. When desire becomes longing, you vibrate absence. When desire becomes remembrance, you vibrate completion. And in that completion, the invisible becomes your closest ally. So the task of this revelation is not to wait anxiously for evidence, but to honor the invisible as the greater proof. The moment you feel the alignment, celebrate it. The moment you sense the shift, give thanks. The moment you catch yourself radiating peace, joy, or certainty without any external cause, know that this is the manifestation itself, already alive within you. The external world will eventually echo it, but by then it will feel second. The real miracle is always the change of state, the transformation of frequency, the anchoring of resonance. And here lies the liberation. You are no longer a victim of waiting. You no longer postpone your joy to some distant arrival. You no longer chain your worth to condition. You become the arrival. You become the proof. You become the living evidence of the unseen. And when you live this way, life unfolds with a rhythm that feels miraculous yet natural, extraordinary yet inevitable. You stop chasing and start receiving. Stop striving and start flowing. Stop doubting and start remembering. This is why quantum manifestation works backwards, because the unseen is always the first stage, and the seen is always the last. The invisible alignment is the cause. The visible evidence is the echo. To reverse it, to wait for proof before you believe, is to block the very flow that makes manifestation possible. But when you invert the logic, when you treasure the unseen more than the seen, you unlock a power that no one can take from you. You can walk in certainty even when the world looks unchanged. You can live in joy even before results appear. And in that state, you have already won, because the vibration is the reality, and the form will follow in its, the one that ties all the threads into a single current of remembrance. Manifestation is not about bending the universe to your will. It is about surrendering into the truth that you and the universe were never separate to begin with. The reason quantum manifestation feels as though it works backwards is because you have been taught to see yourself as a small figure, moving forward through time, struggling toward outcomes, fighting against resistance, trying to prove worthiness for things that always seem to be out of reach. But when you look deeper, when you step out of the trance of linear perception, you discover that the universe has always been breathing you, guiding you, moving through you. Manifestation is not the art of control. It is the art of remembering unity. This is why, at the highest level, you do not even need to manifest. You simply allow. The desires that rise in your heart are not random cravings. They are transmissions from the field itself, memories of futures already alive, invitations from your higher self to step into timelines you have already chosen. When you say yes to them, you are not forcing reality. You are aligning with what is already true. The backwardness makes sense now, doesn't it? You are not dragging the future into the present. You are being carried by the gravitational pull of the reality that is already complete. Manifestation is simply you saying yes to the current that is already flowing. But here lies the paradox. Even though everything is already alive in the field, you are still given the dignity of choice. You are free to resist, to doubt, to delay, to vibrate in misalignment. The field does not punish you for this. It simply reflects it. You are free to choose suffering just as you are free to choose joy. And yet the moment you align, the moment you allow, the moment you surrender into remembrance, the field rushes to meet you because it was never withholding anything. It was always waiting for you to remember who you are. So the ultimate secret of quantum manifestation is not power in the sense of domination, but power in the sense of harmony. True power is resonance. True power is coherence. True power is the ability to live as though the separation has dissolved, as though the self and the universe are one, as though every desire that rises within you is the universe's desire to know itself through you. And when you live this way, you stop asking, when will it come? You begin asking, how can I carry it now? You stop asking, why is it delayed? And begin trusting that it is unfolding in perfect precision. You stop striving to prove your worthiness and begin resting in the knowing that your worth was never in question. And when you reach this place, manifestation ceases to be a desperate pursuit and becomes a natural expression. Like a flower does not strive to bloom but simply aligns with the sun, you too begin to unfold without resistance. Your reality begins to mirror not the frantic effort of trying to control, but the quiet certainty of one who knows they are already whole. And in this wholeness, what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. The backwardness of it all finally feels like grace. You no longer need the proof first, because you already are the proof. You no longer beg the future to arrive, because you are already living inside its signal. And so the invitation now is not just to understand these revelations, but to embody them, to walk with them in your daily life, to let them shape how you see, how you breathe, how you respond to the world. When doubt rises, you will remember it is only the shadow before dawn. When longing aches, you will remember that the vibration of completion is already available now. When impatience stirs, you will remember that the unseen is the truest evidence. And when fear tells you the universe is indifferent, you will remember that you and the universe are one, and separation has always been the only illusion. This is where your power truly unlocks, not in fighting for outcomes, but in remembering alignment, not in straining against resistance, but in dissolving into resonance, not in begging the field to respond, but in knowing that it cannot help but mirror who you already are. And once you live this way, everything shifts. Life begins to feel less like a battle and more like a dance, less like a puzzle and more like music, less like a burden and more like a remembering. You realize that manifestation was never about creating something from nothing. It was always about remembering everything was already here. So as you hear these words, feel them not just as concepts, but as activation. Feel your breath slow, your chest open, your awareness soften. Feel the subtle certainty that you are not waiting for power. You are power. You are not reaching for the future. You are being pulled by it. You are not begging reality to change. You are already vibrating in the signal that guarantees its unfolding. This is the mystery and the gift of why quantum manifestation works backwards. And now that you see it, you cannot unsee it. You cannot return to the old story of waiting, of doubting, of believing yourself separate. You have crossed the threshold of remembrance. So walk forward, though in truth you are walking backward into the life that is already calling you. Trust the pull of your future self. Honor the whispers of the unseen. Release the grip of desperation, and embody the resonance of completion. And watch with awe but without surprise, as reality rearranges itself to echo what you already are. And now, I invite you, carry this revelation not just in your mind, but in your life. Let it shape the way you breathe today, the way you speak, the way you choose. And if these words have stirred something in you, if you feel the pull of remembrance awakening within, do not let it fade. Anchor it by sharing this transmission with others who are ready to hear it, by reflecting on it in your own heart, and by aligning with it each day. Subscribe, comment, connect, not for vanity but because resonance grows stronger when it is shared. Together we amplify the signal of remembrance, and together we step into the futures already calling us home.